Welcome back to Jayhawks pregame. Of course, I'm Anthony D'Annunzio, and we are joined by three Jeannette legends. So it is an honor and a privilege to be here today with, over to my far right, Mr. John Trolio. Mr. Trolio, thank you for being here. Long-time member of the Jeannette Athletic Department, served many roles here at Jeannette, and he is the gatherer of information for so many years, the statistician, the faculty manager, and true, genuine man. Now, next to him, we have Coach Robert Murphy. Coach Murph's been here for so many years, coach, athletic director, track coach. And now, to my immediate right, we have Mr. Coach Joe Musey. Coach, welcome. You came to Jeannette in 1968, and you've been a part of so many lives here at Jeannette, and you still are to this day. So we're talking today about playoffs, but there's so much history, so much tradition, and you established some of that foundation when you came to Jeannette in 1968.
That is correct, Anthony, and I've always said so often, so many times, that I am just so happy and so proud that I came to Jeannette. And you don't know how proud I really am of what Jeannette had done during those periods of years that I was here. It was a true delight and a great honor for me to have attained this type of accomplishment.
And there's so many memories, so many things that you look back upon and you could say, wow, I can't believe that we did those things, and we were able to beat some magnificent teams, and we set up the standard for what Jeannette football and Jeannette athletics is today. And you always say that success breeds success, and something that happened back in 1968, a win over Hempfield, was an amazing feat back then.
Anthony, I can't tell you, as I look back upon that game, I remember it so well, and I just cannot explain in words the feeling that all of us had, me, the coaching staff, the people, the team. It's hard to believe, and it was a memory that will be with me forever. As you know, Jeannette had never defeated Hempfield. And Hempfield had played two perennial football powers, Charleroi and Butler. And we were undefeated. I came in here, we were 2-0, and we played down here at Jeannette. The people were coming at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm not kidding you. We were there, we saw them here, they were here waiting for that ball game. And as you know and I know, it was a full house that night. And of course, the people of Jeannette, after the win, they danced in the streets for a week, Anthony. It was a big win for all of us, and something that we're proud of, and I'm sure we'll never forget.
And Coach Murphy, you had heard about this game, and you felt that emotion, and it was something that you won't soon forget either.
Yeah, I've relived so many of the stories of that game. I wasn't here; I was in college, and just heard so much about it. The morning of after that game, we were at a pregame breakfast, and our coach came over and put the newspaper down in front of us and said, "Look at this," and it was a description of the Jeannette upset of Hempfield the previous night. And then I've again said I wasn't here at the game, but I've been a part of so many stories, hearing so much about it. So it was a great win.
Well, Mr. Chili, I want to go forward a year, and you've chronicled so many Jeannette playoff memories, and one that's very unique is the tie from 1972 against Monessen. How did that even happen?
Well, according to the WPIAL rules, they didn't have any type of playoffs to determine a winner if they
Sure.
wound up as a tie, except in this situation, the team that had the most yardage was declared the winner, and that was Jeannette.
Wow, that is an incredible story. And then, going to the next year in 1973, Jeannette played Greensburg-Salem in the playoffs. So that's another big school that Jeannette had to face in the playoffs.
Right. It was back then. It wasn't Greensburg-Salem yet. It was just Greensburg. Mm-hmm. And I graduated from Jeannette, and back in the day, Jeannette and Greensburg were bitter rivalries, and we hadn't played Greensburg for a few years until that night. And that night, the skies opened up, and it just dumped quite a few inches of snow on the field, and they brought the Jeannette City street sweeper in and swept the middle of the field so we could play. And fortunately, our kids played like it was 70 degrees, and Greensburg played like it was 20 degrees. And we had a very good outcome.
And we're here at McKee Stadium, and I want to talk about the attendance also. I mean, back then, the attendance was a lot different than it was today. I mean, so many more people came to those games back then. I just think that's a unique situation and something that we haven't seen here for quite some time. Obviously, we do have a huge amount of support, but back then the magnitude of people was much different.
Yes, very
I think,
different.
Anthony, one of the things that existed at that time that does not exist nearly as well was the local rivalries. Mm-hmm. In other words, the Latrobe Dairy game was a big rival game. The Greensburg Hempfield game was big. The Jeannette Hempfield, Greensburg, Latrobe, those were all big games because they were all within maybe 4 or 5 miles of each other.
Sure.
And you could imagine what this had built up over a year's time, what this game meant to each of these respective teams.
Sure.
And I think the competition was just superb, and it was tough. And again, it was tough competing. Jeannette, we were small, and we were getting smaller and smaller.
But as we go forward a little bit from the 70s and we get to the 81 championship team and the 83 championship team, there were some magnificent players on those football team, right, Coach Murph?
There certainly were. We have really been blessed with athletes through the years, and it hasn't stopped. It still hasn't stopped. We've had great athletes, and I think a very fine team this year. But yes, in '81, you referenced that game. We were probably, Coach Hall.
Yeah,
himself. He was a star on that team. He was one of our seniors on that team, and we played that year. I believe it was at Valley Stadium. Mm-hmm. We played Freeport in the finals, and that was a great game. And that was the '81 WPIL championship team. But all around that, whether it be teams before that or even after. We had some that maybe didn't win the WPIL championship, but also were very successful and had some great athletes.
Mr. Chully, we talked about some games that Jeannette has been a part of, some all-time historic games, but maybe one of the most memorable ones was in '83 against Washington. Exactly.
Washington had a great team, and they had an outstanding running back, Brian Davis, and he was one of the best that I've ever seen that we played against. And the thing that stands out in my mind, we were leading 21-19, I believe, and we took over the ball on our own approximately 5-yard line, and we fumbled. Washington recovered, and there wasn't a whole lot of time left. And for whatever reason, I have no idea why, but the Washington coach gave the ball to the other running back 4 straight times, and we stopped him, never giving the ball to Brian Davis, who was probably the best running back in the state at the time. So
that's a historical moment in not only Jeannette history, but also WPIL history. And as we talk about the WPIL, there's so many teams throughout the years, Coach Musi, that have been prolific. They have brought so many fans to games. They have been in the playoffs for so many years. Here at Jeannette, we've been blessed to have so many playoff opportunities and to have victories and to have WPIL championships, and we've had state championships. So what has that meant with the WPIL as far as the people are concerned? They just come to all these games, and it's amazing the following that comes with being a Jeannette Jayhawk fan.
Anthony, I think I know. I was here at Jeannette a long time, and I can tell you that the number of times we were in the playoffs, we'd get the playoff sheets, the gate receipts, etc., and we always were within the top 3 teams in the WPIL, where we brought in the most fans and the most money. We were right up there near the top always, because I think it's a great football tradition that we have here in this great town, and I think it has begun. We started it, and as you know, they're still rolling on. I don't know. I can't answer what number they're on now. Maybe you can. Let the people know what number we're on here.
Yeah, we're having these victories, and we're the WPIL leading with 700, and I think we've got 762 victories now. So that's incredible, Coach.
Yes, it is.
It really is. And to think that how many you have witnessed in your lifetime as a coach and as an athletic director and as a fan coming to these games today. And Coach Murph, you've seen so many as well. And what is it about Jeannette football? How are they able to do it year after year? What has that meant? I mean, some people say, how do you guys do it every year? I'm saying, well, I don't know. It just happens, but it's not easy.
I can tell you one thing, Anthony. Excuse me, Murph. I was tell you one thing. When I was hired at Jeannette to take the job, I remember so vividly and so distinctly. I told the school board that one of the biggest things had to be changed when I come here was the attitude. We got to change this losing attitude to a winning attitude. And now in order to do this, it's going to take a lot of hard work. And I'm willing to put the time in and get this thing done, because I know what type of kid we have at Jeannette, and I feel very confident that they will be successful. Those are my words, and if you know anybody on the board, you could ask them, and that's what I told them.
Oh, you made it happen, Coach.
That was the story.
There's no doubt. Now, Coach Murph, how does this happen? I mean, is it just a continuation of the thought that Coach Musey developed way back when and just continued it through? I mean, obviously we've had some changes, but continuity's got to be really important too, right?
Well, without a doubt. I mean, just look at our coaching staff that we have now, Coach Hall and his fine staff. They've been together for years. And if you go back to the beginnings of when Coach Musey arrived, there wasn't a lot of turnover in the staffs. People stayed, and we had success, but we had a closeness, and I think the community itself is such a solid community. Sure. and it's a prideful thing, and as Coach Musey alluded to earlier, the people turn out. We've always had great attendance, and people travel if we're away.
Sure.
Of course, this being an exception this year, but without a doubt, I think the community itself is very encouraging of their players, their athletes here, and not only in athletics but in school as well. So yeah, it's just a great community for. And the athletes too. I can't really explain why we've had some of the athletes that have just. They're sure they're encouraged and they're brought along with their talent, but there's just some people that are born here that seem to have a great skill and talent in themselves. So.
Mr. Trolio, you have seen this, and as the historian, you've seen so many statistics, so many official happenings and things that have changed here at McKee Stadium. And one of the things that have changed, we've got this field behind us, which used to be grass. We used to have cinders, but Mr. Trolio, it's not that way anymore. It's a lot different.
It sure is. That's for sure. We were probably, when I say we, I'm talking about Jeannette, probably one of the final schools in the area to have artificial surface. But I think the kids really like playing on the grass. I don't know what their attitude is now on this surface. I'm sure they they enjoy it. You don't have to worry about being muddy or being really wet and sloppy. But
And before we go, we want to have a little bit of a playoff preview for our game. And this current team, the 2020 edition of the Jeannette Jayhawks, just how much have you seen them, and have you seen them as far as they have grown up throughout this year? And maybe you see some of the things in this team that you have seen in your playoff teams of the past.
Anthony, I would just like to say I'm just so proud and honored that our present coach, Coach Hall, I want to pay him a big tribute because he has certainly carried the ball. I think if you look back from my tenure, and then I think Murph took over, and Art and all those people, I'm so grateful for all this occurring. It's all been a part of us, and that's the way we were, and we operated as a family. We were always together. We worked hard. Believe me, I was not an easy person to work for. Murph always tells me the story about me not paying any attention to the watch, and that was true because I felt the work had to be done, and I wasn't going to leave until it was done properly.
He wanted to get you a new watch.
Absolutely. He wanted to buy me a new one. But anyway, I want to commend and congratulate our present team and Coach Hall because he was one of our players. And I knew when Coach Hall played for us that he had those leadership qualities. And if he'd ever become a coach, I knew he would be successful. And he has. And he has proven. And then we've got other representatives out on the field. I don't want to mention other names, but you've got a number of others that were a part of our growing program, and so these fellows just keep this going, and certainly I just want them to know how proud all of us are of their accomplishments this year, and hopefully hope and pray that it does continue.
Well, thank you. And Coach Murph, that lineage it's just incredible to see it progress throughout the years and where it is today, and it's really truly unheard of. It really is.
Well, I would say so. And this is a fine team this year. I think the sky's the limit. I know we have the opening loss against a fine Clareton team, but I don't think the final story's been written yet on this team and as we enter the playoffs.
And Mr. Choli, you've seen it, and you've chronicled this Jeannette history, these playoff victories, these playoff wins, and what it has meant to the entire community. And hopefully this year we'll be able to write another chapter to your historical books.
Well, I certainly hope so. They're a very talented team. They have some great kids, and who knows? We'll have to wait and see till the final chapter is written.
Well, I want to thank each of you for being with us here on the Westmoreland Sports Network. It's truly an honor and a privilege to have you here at our home, the home of the Jayhawks, McKee Stadium. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it, and we will see you back on the Westmoreland Sports right after this.